The ocean's depths hide many dangers, from powerful predators to venomous creatures. Sharks with their razor-sharp teeth are among the most feared, but they are not the only threat. Sea snakes, electric eels, and barracudas lurk in the waters, ready to strike at any moment. Even the seemingly serene coral reefs and rivers can be perilous, as hidden dangers lie beneath the surface. Here are 6 harrowing stories of encounters with these deadly sea creatures that will leave you on the edge of your seat. In the summer of 2000, in the rural outback of northern Australia, 2 teenagers, Liam Johnson and Emma Blake, ventured into the wilderness for a day of fun. They were visiting a place called Blue Water Billabong, a serene and seemingly peaceful spot surrounded by dense eucalyptus trees and rugged terrain. The date was February 18th, and the scorching sun cast a golden glow over the landscape. Liam, a 17-year-old with a mischievous streak, had convinced Emma to join him for a picnic by the Billabong. Emma, always up for an adventure, happily agreed. They packed a basket with sandwiches, fruit, and cold drinks and rode their bikes to the secluded spot. The area was known for its natural beauty and tranquil waters, perfect for a day of relaxation. The Billabong, a still and muddy water body, was a common feature in northern Australia. It was home to various wildlife, including birds, fish, and, unfortunately, saltwater crocodiles. These massive predators could grow up to 20 feet long and were known for their stealth and power. While locals were aware of the dangers, tourists and younger visitors often underestimated the risks. Upon arrival, Liam and Emma spread out a blanket under the shade of a large tree and enjoyed their picnic. They laughed and talked, savoring the freedom of being away from the responsibilities of school and chores. As the afternoon heat intensified, Liam suggested they cool off with a dip in the Billabong. Emma hesitated, knowing the potential dangers, but Liam reassured her that it was safe. They waded into the shallow waters, splashing each other playfully. The cool water was a welcome relief from the scorching sun. Liam, in his usual playful manner, decided to tease Emma by pushing her gently into the deeper part of the Billabong. She laughed and splashed back, but her amusement quickly turned to terror as the water around her churned violently. Before Liam could react, a massive saltwater crocodile erupted from the murky depths and clamped its powerful jaws around Emma's leg. Her scream pierced the air, filled with pain and fear. Liam stood frozen, his heart pounding in his chest as he watched the crocodile drag Emma under the water. Liam's mind raced with panic and guilt. He had been the one to push Emma into the water, unknowingly putting her in grave danger. But there was no time for regret. He had to save her. Summoning all his courage, he dived into the water, his eyes scanning for any sign of Emma or the crocodile. The water was murky and visibility was poor. Liam felt his way through the underwater darkness, his heart pounding with fear. He caught a glimpse of the crocodile's massive tail thrashing through the water, and then he saw Emma. She was struggling, her face a mask of pain and terror. The crocodile had her in its grip, pulling her deeper into the Billabong. Liam swam towards them, his hands outstretched. He grabbed a large stick from the bottom and struck the crocodile with all his might. The beast thrashed violently, and Liam feared it would attack him next. But he couldn't give up. He struck again and again, each blow fueled by his desperation to save Emma. Finally, the crocodile loosened its grip, and Emma broke free. Liam grabbed her and pulled her to the surface, gasping for air. Blood flowed from the wound on her leg, staining the water red. He knew they had to get out of the water immediately. With all the strength he could muster, Liam dragged Emma to the shore and laid her on the blanket. Emma was in shock, her face pale and her breathing labored. Liam tore off a piece of his shirt and wrapped it around her leg to stop the bleeding. He needed to get help, but they were miles from the nearest town. He looked around desperately and saw a dirt road leading away from the Billabong. He knew it was their only chance. Liam lifted Emma onto his back, determined to carry her to safety. The journey was grueling. As the sun began to set, casting long shadows across the landscape, he saw a figure in the distance. It was a farmer driving a pickup truck. Liam shouted for help, his voice hoarse and desperate. The farmer rushed over, quickly assessing the situation. He helped Liam and Emma into the truck and sped towards the nearest hospital. Liam held Emma's hand, praying silently that she would survive. The ride seemed to last forever, but they finally arrived at the hospital. Medical staff rushed to take Emma inside, and Liam collapsed, exhausted and overwhelmed with emotion. Emma was taken into surgery immediately. The doctors worked tirelessly to save her leg and treat the damage caused by the crocodile's bite. Hours later, a doctor approached Liam with a solemn expression. He explained that Emma had lost a lot of blood, but they had managed to stabilize her. She would need time to recover, but she was going to be okay. Relief washed over Liam, and he broke down in tears, grateful that Emma had survived. The days that followed were filled with challenges as Emma began her recovery. Liam stayed by her side, supporting her every step of the way. The experience had changed them both, deepening their bond and teaching them the value of life and the importance of caution. In the summer of 2002, the Anderson family vacationed in the Bahamas, eager to escape the hustle and bustle of their everyday lives. They settled into a charming beach house in Coral Cove, known for its white, sandy beaches and clear, inviting waters. The date was July 10th, and the weather was perfect. The sun shone brightly, the sky was a flawless blue, and the ocean was calm. 15-year-old Jake Anderson had always loved the ocean. He had been swimming since he was a young boy and felt at ease in the water. Despite his parents' warnings about swimming alone, Jake was drawn to the serene, blue expanse. That morning, while his parents, Sarah and Tom, prepared breakfast, Jake decided to sneak out for a solo swim. Jake ran across the warm sand, feeling the grains between his toes, and plunged into the cool, clear water, relishing the freedom it gave him. He swam further out, enjoying the peace and beauty of the underwater world. The water was crystal clear, revealing vibrant coral reefs and schools of colorful fish. He watched as parrotfish nibbled on the coral and angelfish darted around him, their bright colors shimmering in the sunlight. The Bahamas were home to many marine creatures, including the majestic and dangerous tiger sharks. These sharks, with their distinctive stripes and powerful jaws, were known to be curious and potentially aggressive. Although tiger sharks were not common near the shore, the clear waters of Coral Cove could attract them closer, especially if they detected signs of prey. Jake floated on his back, staring up at the clear sky, completely at peace. He felt exhilarated, enjoying the thrill of being alone in the vast ocean. He dived beneath the surface, exploring the coral formations and marveling at the marine life. As he swam back to the surface, Jake noticed a shadow moving in the distance. He paid little attention to it, assuming it was just a larger fish. Unbeknownst to Jake, the shadow belonged to a tiger shark, drawn by the movement and the potential for prey. The shark moved closer, its interest piqued by Jake's presence. As Jake swam on, unaware of the approaching danger, the shark closed in. Suddenly, Jake felt a sharp, excruciating pain in his leg. He turned and saw the tiger shark's powerful jaws clamped around his leg. Panic surged through him as he tried to kick free, but the shark held on tightly. The water around him turned red with blood, and Jake's mind raced with fear and adrenaline. He knew he had to get back to shore, but the shark wasn't letting go. Jake's heart pounded as he struggled against the shark's grip. He punched and kicked at the predator, desperate to escape. The shark thrashed, pulling him deeper into the water. Jake's strength was waning, but he refused to give up. Desperation gave him a surge of adrenaline, and he managed to grab a piece of sharp coral from the ocean floor. He jabbed the coral into the shark's eye, and the shark finally released him. Free from the shark's jaws, Jake began to swim towards the shore. His leg throbbed with pain and blood trailed behind him, attracting more sharks. Each stroke felt like an eternity as he fought against the current and his own exhaustion. He glanced back and saw several shadows circling in the water. Fear gripped him, but he pushed it aside, focusing on reaching the shore. On the beach, Sarah and Tom noticed the commotion in the water. They saw Jake struggling and realized something was terribly wrong. They shouted for help, alerting other beachgoers. A group of people rushed to the water's edge, ready to assist. Tom grabbed a surfboard and paddled out to Jake, his heart racing with fear for his son. Jake's vision blurred as he swam, his body growing weaker. He felt a rush of relief when he saw his father approaching on the surfboard. Tom reached out and grabbed Jake, pulling him onto the board. The other beachgoers formed a human chain, helping to bring them both to safety. The sound of shouts and splashing filled the air as they fought to save Jake from the predators lurking below. They reached the shore and Jake collapsed onto the sand, his leg bleeding heavily. Sarah rushed to his side, her face pale with fear. She used a towel to apply pressure to the wound, trying to stop the bleeding. Tom called for an ambulance, his hands shaking as he held his son's hand. The beachgoers gathered around, offering support and comfort. The ambulance arrived and paramedics quickly assessed Jake's condition. They stabilized him and loaded him onto a stretcher. Sarah and Tom rode with him to the hospital, their hearts heavy with worry. The drive seemed to last forever, but they finally arrived at the emergency room. Medical staff took over, rushing Jake into surgery to repair the damage caused by the shark's bite. Hours passed as Sarah and Tom waited anxiously in the hospital. They held each other, praying for Jake's recovery. The doctors emerged with the news. Jake had lost a lot of blood, but they had managed to save his leg. He would need time to heal, but he was going to survive. Relief washed over them, and they thanked the medical team profusely. In the frigid waters off the coast of Alaska, the small fishing boat, the Arctic Star, set out for a day of fishing. It was April 15th, 2004, and the crew was eager to make the most of the season. The boat, captained by John Miller, was manned by an experienced crew. Sam Roberts, a seasoned fisherman, Mike Turner, the boat's engineer, and young Henry Harris, eager to learn the ropes. The day began early with the sun barely rising over the horizon, casting a pale light over the icy waters. Alaska's waters were known for their rich marine life, including the majestic orcas. These intelligent and powerful predators were a common sight, often seen swimming gracefully through the cold seas. Orcas, also known as killer whales, are apex predators known for their strength, intelligence, and complex social structures. While generally not a threat to humans, their behavior could be unpredictable, especially if they felt threatened or agitated. The crew of the Arctic Star was well aware of the risks and respected the marine life around them. They had encountered orcas before, marveling at their beauty from a safe distance. The day started normally with the crew working together to prepare the nets and check the equipment. The sea was calm and the sky clear, promising a productive day ahead. As they moved further into the open water, the crew began their work. Sam and Henry prepared the nets while Mike checked the engine. John kept a steady course, scanning the horizon for any signs of trouble. The air was cold and the water even colder, but the crew was used to these harsh conditions. They joked and chatted, their spirits high despite the chilly weather. Hours passed as they hauled in their catch, the boat's hold gradually filling with fish. Suddenly, the calm was shattered by a massive wave that rocked the boat violently. The crew held on, bracing against the sudden force. They looked around, bewildered, trying to understand what had caused the wave. It was then that they saw the orca. A massive orca, larger than any they had seen before, surfaced near the boat. Its black and white body glistened in the cold sunlight, and its dorsal fin cut through the water like a knife. The orca's behavior was unusual. Instead of swimming away, it circled the boat, its movements aggressive and erratic. The crew watched in fear as the orca breached the surface, its powerful body crashing down, sending another wave towards the boat. John shouted orders, trying to steer the boat away, but the orca was relentless. It rammed the side of the boat, the impact nearly capsizing them. The crew struggled to keep their footing, the boat rocking violently. Another hit and the boat began to tip. The crew scrambled to grab life jackets and emergency gear, knowing they had to abandon ship. The orca's next strike was the final blow. The boat capsized, throwing the crew into the icy waters. The shock of the cold water took their breath away, and they fought to stay afloat. Sam found himself separated from the others, the overturned boat between him and the rest of the crew. Panic surged through him, but he forced himself to stay calm and think. The icy water bit into Sam's skin and he could barely move his limbs. He saw the orca's dorsal fin circling nearby, its menacing presence clear. The cold water and distance muffled the crew's shouts. Sam knew he had to act fast. He spotted a floating piece of debris from the boat and swam towards it, grabbing hold to stay afloat. The orca's behavior grew more aggressive. It swam towards Sam, its massive body slicing through the water with terrifying speed. Sam's heart pounded as he realized the orca was targeting him. He kicked with all his strength, trying to distance himself, but the cold sapped his energy. The orca's eye gleamed with a predatory focus, and it lunged. Sam felt the orca's powerful jaws clamp around his leg, the pain searing through his body. He screamed, thrashing in the water, trying to break free. The orca shook him violently, dragging him underwater. The cold and pain blurred his vision, and he fought desperately to survive. He remembered the stories of orcas hunting in packs, their coordination and efficiency as predators. The thought of more orcas joining the attack filled him with dread. In a desperate move, Sam reached for a sharp piece of metal debris floating nearby. He stabbed at the orca's head, aiming for its sensitive spots. The orca released him, and he shot to the surface, gasping for air. His leg throbbed with pain, and blood clouded the water around him. He knew he was bleeding heavily, and the cold was making it harder to stay conscious. The orca circled back, its dorsal fin cutting through the water. Sam grabbed the debris tighter, using it as a makeshift shield. The orca lunged again, and Sam thrust the metal piece forward, hitting the orca's snout. The orca recoiled, and Sam seized the moment to swim towards the overturned boat, where he saw the rest of the crew clinging to the hull. John and Mike reached out, pulling Sam onto the boat. His leg was badly injured, and he was shivering uncontrollably. The orca continued to circle but seemed deterred by the group's united front. The crew huddled together, their breaths visible in the cold air, each minute feeling like an eternity. The orca's attacks had drawn the attention of nearby boats. Flares had been fired and distress signals sent out. Help was on the way, but the crew had to hold on a little longer. Sam's vision blurred as the pain and cold took their toll. He could hear John and Mike's voices urging him to stay awake and to keep fighting. Finally, rescue boats arrived, and the crew was pulled from the water. Sam was rushed to the nearest hospital, where he received immediate medical attention. His leg was severely injured, but he survived. The orca, dubbed the Rogue, became a topic of fascination and caution among the fishing community. Sam's recovery was long and painful, but he was grateful to be alive. The experience had left him with physical and emotional scars, a reminder of the raw power of nature. The fishing community in Alaska remained wary, their respect for the ocean and its inhabitants deepened by the harrowing encounter with the Rogue orca. In the summer of 2006, Mark and Ashley Williams were on their honeymoon in the Caribbean, eager to explore the vibrant coral reefs surrounding the fictional island of Paradise Cay. It was July 15th, a perfect day with the sun shining brightly in a cloudless sky and the turquoise waters gently lapping against the shore. The newlyweds, both 30 years old and from New York, were excited for a day of snorkeling, hoping to see the underwater wonders they had read about. The Caribbean Sea is home to an array of marine life, including the sleek and swift barracuda. These predatory fish are known for their elongated bodies, sharp teeth, and aggressive behavior, especially when provoked or attracted to shiny objects. Locals and seasoned divers know to avoid wearing jewelry or anything reflective while in the water to prevent such dangerous encounters. Mark and Ashley were oblivious to these warnings as they donned their snorkeling gear. Ashley wore a delicate silver bracelet, a gift from her grandmother, which glinted in the bright sunlight. They waded into the warm, clear water, marveling at the colorful fish and intricate coral formations below. They swam together, pointing out parrotfish, angelfish, and sea turtles gliding gracefully through the water. The coral reefs were alive with activity, a bustling underwater metropolis teeming with life. Mark and Ashley felt a sense of awe and wonder as they explored this vibrant world, feeling connected to nature and each other. As they ventured further from the shore, the water deepened and the coral formations grew larger and more complex. Ashley was captivated by a particularly beautiful coral structure and swam closer to get a better look. Mark stayed a few meters behind, taking pictures with an underwater camera. Unbeknownst to them, a large barracuda had been lurking nearby, its keen eyes catching the glint of Ashley's bracelet. Barracudas are ambush predators, known to strike with lightning speed when they spot something that resembles their prey. The fish mistook the shiny jewelry for the scales of a small fish and quickly zeroed in on Ashley. Ashley felt a sudden sharp pain in her arm and looked down to see the barracuda's powerful jaws clamped around her wrist. Panic surged through her as she realized what was happening. She thrashed in the water, trying to shake off the fish, but its teeth sank deeper into her flesh. The water around her turned red with blood and the snorkel muffled her screams. Mark turned around at the commotion and saw Ashley struggling with the barracuda. His heart pounded with fear and adrenaline as he swam towards her as fast as he could. The barracuda finally released its grip and darted away, leaving Ashley bleeding and in shock. Mark reached her and saw the severity of her injury. He knew they had to get back to shore immediately. Mark held Ashley close, trying to calm her while he assessed the situation. Blood poured from the deep wounds on her arm and she was trembling with fear and pain. He took a deep breath and focused on what needed to be done. They were far from the shore, and the water was deep and potentially filled with more predators drawn by the scent of blood. With one arm wrapped around Ashley to keep her afloat, Mark began swimming back towards the shore. Every stroke felt like an eternity as he fought against the current and his rising panic. Ashley clung to him, her breath shallow and rapid. Mark could see the fear in her eyes and felt a surge of determination to get her to safety. The journey back was grueling. The weight of Ashley's body, combined with the choppy waves, made progress slow and arduous. Mark kept looking around, scanning the water for any signs of danger. His heart raced as he saw the occasional shadow below, but he pressed on, driven by sheer willpower. As they neared the shore, Mark shouted for help, his voice strained with urgency. Beachgoers and resort staff noticed the commotion and rushed to assist. A lifeguard on duty grabbed a rescue board and paddled out to meet them. With the lifeguard's help, they managed to get Ashley onto the board and brought her to the shore. On the beach, a small crowd had gathered, watching anxiously. Mark and the lifeguard carried Ashley onto the sand, where another staff member had already called for an ambulance. They laid her down gently, and Mark used a towel to apply pressure to her wound, trying to stem the flow of blood. Ashley's face was pale and she was shivering uncontrollably. Mark stayed by her side, holding her hand and whispering words of comfort. The minutes seemed to stretch on forever until the sound of sirens signaled the arrival of help. Paramedics rushed to Ashley's side, quickly assessing her injuries and providing emergency care. The paramedics worked swiftly, stabilizing Ashley and preparing her for transport to the nearest hospital. Mark was allowed to ride with her in the ambulance, never letting go of her hand. He watched helplessly as the paramedics tended to her, his mind racing with worry. The ride to the hospital felt like a blur, with Mark's thoughts focused solely on Ashley's survival. Upon arrival, she was taken into surgery to repair the damage caused by the barracuda's vicious bite. Hours later, a doctor emerged to inform Mark that Ashley had made it through surgery. She had lost a lot of blood and would need time to recover, but she was going to be okay. Relief washed over Mark, and he thanked the doctor profusely. Ashley's recovery was slow but steady. Mark stayed by her side, supporting her every step of the way. The experience had left them both with physical and emotional scars, but it had also strengthened their bond. They learned to appreciate the fragility of life and the importance of being prepared and cautious. In the summer of 2008, a group of experienced divers set out to explore a shipwreck off the coast of Thailand. The shipwreck, known as the Emerald Depths, was a popular diving site near the small town of Koh Lanta. The date was July 20th, and the weather was perfect for diving. The sun shone brightly, and the waters were calm and inviting. The diving team consisted of 5 members. Anna, a marine biologist with a passion for shipwrecks. Her husband, Aiden, an experienced diver and underwater photographer. Ben, the team's leader and a seasoned dive instructor. Lisa, a rescue diver. And Oliver, an adventurous newcomer eager to explore the underwater world. They had all been looking forward to this dive for months. The day began with a detailed briefing from Ben. He went over the dive plan, safety procedures, and the layout of the shipwreck. The Emerald Depths lay at a depth of 30 meters, encrusted with coral and teeming with marine life. However, the wreck was also home to sea snakes, which were highly venomous and known to inhabit the crevices and dark corners of the ship. Sea snakes, though usually not aggressive, could become dangerous if provoked. Their venom was potent and could cause paralysis or even death if not treated promptly. The team was aware of the risks and carried an emergency anti-venom kit on their boat. Excitement filled the air as they geared up and performed final checks on their equipment. They boarded their dive boat and headed out to the dive site. The ride was smooth, and the team chatted excitedly, their spirits high. As they approached the wreck, the water's clarity revealed the outline of the sunken ship below. The team entered the water, their descent slow and controlled. The wreck came into clearer view, a ghostly silhouette against the blue depths. Coral and marine life thrived on the ship's remains, creating a vibrant underwater ecosystem. The team moved as one, their movements synchronized and efficient. Anna was particularly fascinated by the shipwreck. She had studied marine biology for years, and shipwrecks held a special allure for her. She swam closer to examine the coral-encrusted hull, her eyes wide with wonder. Aiden stayed close, capturing the beauty of the wreck and its inhabitants with his camera. Ben led the team through the ship's passageways, pointing out areas of interest and ensuring everyone stayed together. The water was cool and clear, and the light filtered down, creating an ethereal atmosphere. Schools of fish darted around them, adding to the magic of the dive. As they explored the lower decks, Lisa noticed a small opening that led into a dark chamber. She signaled to Ben, who nodded in agreement. They decided to investigate, hoping to find something intriguing. The team followed, their torches illuminating the dark interior. Unbeknownst to them, the chamber was home to a nest of sea snakes. The sudden intrusion startled the snakes, and they became agitated. One of the snakes, in a defensive move, struck out and bit Anna on the leg. She felt a sharp pain and looked down to see the snake retreating into the darkness. Anna's heart raced as she realized what had happened. She signaled to the team, her eyes wide with fear. Ben quickly assessed the situation and signaled for an emergency ascent. They had to get Anna back to the boat and administer the antivenom as quickly as possible. Anna felt the effects of the venom almost immediately. Her leg grew numb and she struggled to control her movements. Aiden stayed close, his face etched with worry. The team began their ascent, moving as quickly and safely as possible. The surface felt impossibly far away, and every second counted. As they ascended, Anna's condition worsened. The venom spread through her body, causing her to feel weak and disoriented. Ben and Lisa stayed by her side, supporting her and urging her to stay conscious. Oliver swam ahead to prepare the boat and the antivenom kit. The water's pressure changed as they rose, and Anna's vision blurred. She focused on her breathing, trying to remain calm. The team's training kicked in, and they moved with precision, ensuring they didn't ascend too quickly. The surface drew closer, and the light grew brighter. Finally, they broke through the surface, gasping for air. Oliver was ready with the antivenom kit, and they quickly got Anna onto the boat. Lisa, trained in emergency medical care, took charge. She administered the antivenom while Aiden held Anna's hand, whispering words of encouragement. Anna's breathing was labored and her face was pale. The team worked quickly, monitoring her vital signs and keeping her comfortable. The boat's engine roared to life as Ben steered them towards the nearest medical facility. The ride was tense, with everyone focused on Anna's condition. The venom's effects were severe and Anna's body trembled as she fought to stay conscious. The team did everything they could to stabilize her, their faces grim with determination. The coastline grew closer and they signaled for help as they approached the dock. Medical personnel were waiting, alerted by the team's emergency call. They transferred Anna to a stretcher and rushed her to the hospital. Aiden stayed by her side, his heart heavy with worry. The team followed, their minds racing with fear and hope. Anna was taken into the emergency room where doctors and nurses worked tirelessly to treat her. The venom was potent, but the antivenom had been administered in time. They monitored her closely, ensuring her condition stabilized. Aiden and the team waited anxiously, their thoughts consumed by the day's events. Hours later, a doctor emerged with news. Anna had responded well to the treatment and was out of immediate danger. She would need time to recover, but was expected to make a full recovery. Relief washed over Aiden and the team, and they thanked the medical staff profusely. Anna's recovery was slow but steady. The experience had left her with physical and emotional scars, but it had also strengthened her resolve. The team's quick actions and training had saved her life, a testament to their skills and teamwork. In the heart of the Amazon rainforest, on a humid night in August 2010, Carlos Mendoza, an adventurous ecotourism guide, prepared to lead a group of tourists on a night excursion. The group was excited to experience the vibrant nocturnal life of the Amazon River, near the small town of Tefe in Brazil. The date was August 15th, and the air was thick with anticipation and the sounds of the jungle. Carlos was a seasoned guide, well versed in the flora and fauna of the Amazon. His group consisted of 5 tourists: Maria, a biologist eager to document new species; David, a photographer hoping to capture rare shots; Lisa and Aiden, a couple seeking adventure; and Daniel, a writer gathering material for his next book. They had all been looking forward to this unique experience, trusting Carlos's expertise to keep them safe. The Amazon River, the lifeblood of the rainforest, teemed with exotic wildlife. It was home to piranhas, caimans, and the elusive electric eel. These eels could generate powerful electric shocks to stun prey or defend themselves from threats. While usually hidden in the muddy riverbed, an electric eel could deliver a shock strong enough to incapacitate a human, making it a formidable and dangerous inhabitant of the river. Carlos briefed the group on safety measures and what to expect during their excursion. They equipped themselves with flashlights and night vision goggles, eager to explore the mysterious world that came alive after dark. They boarded a small boat and set off into the river, the dense jungle closing in around them. The river was a dark, winding path through the forest, its waters black and foreboding. The boat's motor hummed softly as they glided through the water, their flashlights casting beams of light that danced on the surface. The air was filled with the sounds of croaking frogs, chirping insects, and the occasional rustle of leaves as nocturnal creatures stirred. Carlos pointed out various animals as they moved deeper into the jungle. They saw caimans lurking near the banks, their eyes glowing in the light, and bats flitting overhead. Maria was thrilled, scribbling notes and taking pictures, while David adjusted his camera to capture the elusive wildlife. Lisa and Aiden held hands, their faces alight with excitement, and Daniel quietly observed, soaking in the atmosphere for his writing. As they rounded a bend in the river, Carlos decided to stop and give the group a closer look at the surrounding area. He anchored the boat and stepped out onto a muddy bank. The tourists followed, their flashlights revealing a tapestry of exotic plants and insects. Carlos led them a few steps inland, showing them a tree where bats roosted and pointing out the bioluminescent fungi glowing softly on fallen logs. Unbeknownst to them, they had entered the territory of an electric eel hidden in the muddy waters nearby. The eel, sensing the vibrations and disturbance, became agitated. Carlos, moving closer to the water's edge to give the group a better view of the river, accidentally stepped into a shallow pool where the eel was hiding. Suddenly, Carlos felt a powerful jolt course through his body. He gasped, his muscles contracting violently, and he collapsed into the water. The tourists turned in shock, their flashlights illuminating Carlos as he thrashed in the shallow pool. The electric eel had delivered a devastating shock, and Carlos was struggling to stay conscious. Maria, David, Lisa, Aiden, and Daniel rushed to Carlos's side, panic etched on their faces. They knew they had to act quickly to save him, but the danger of another shock loomed large. David grabbed a stick to try to prod Carlos out of the water, while Lisa and Aiden prepared to pull him to safety. The electric shock paralyzed Carlos's body, and he could barely move. His breaths came in ragged gasps, and he felt his consciousness slipping. The tourists managed to drag him out of the water and onto the muddy bank, but he was in critical condition. His pulse was weak, and his breathing was shallow. The group huddled around Carlos, unsure of what to do next. They had no medical training for such an emergency, and the nearest help was miles away. Maria took charge, using her first aid knowledge to check Carlos's vital signs and keep him stable. She instructed the others to keep him warm and monitor his breathing. The jungle seemed to close in around them, the darkness and the sounds of the night amplifying their fear. They had to get Carlos back to the boat and navigate the treacherous waters to reach safety. Lisa and Aiden supported Carlos as best they could, while David and Daniel kept watch for any signs of danger. The journey back to the boat was slow and arduous. Carlos drifted in and out of consciousness, his body trembling from the after effects of the shock. The tourists moved as quickly as they could, their hearts pounding with fear and determination. They reached the boat and carefully lifted Carlos aboard, making sure he was secure before starting the engine. David took the helm, his hand shaking as he steered the boat through the dark river. Maria stayed by Carlos's side, constantly checking his pulse and breathing. The others kept a lookout, their flashlights scanning the water for any signs of danger. The trip back felt like an eternity, every minute a battle against time. Finally, the lights of Tefe came into view, a beacon of hope in the darkness. They reached the dock, where local guides and medical personnel were waiting, alerted by the group's emergency call. Carlos was quickly transferred to a stretcher and rushed to the nearest medical facility. The tourists followed, their faces etched with concern and exhaustion. Carlos received immediate medical attention and was stabilized. The shock had caused severe muscle damage and temporarily paralyzed him, but he was expected to make a full recovery. The tourists, though shaken by the experience, were relieved and grateful for the swift response and care. The incident with the electric eel served as a stark reminder of the unpredictable dangers that lurk in the depths of the Amazon River. Carlos's experience underscored the importance of caution and respect for the natural world. As he recovered, he reflected on the narrow escape and the teamwork that had saved his life.